Hi and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be working on this little Nissan Qashqai. This is a pre-sales detail to get it ready to go back into the used car sales network and find a new home. So my task here is to get this all nice and tidied up. One of the things I'm going to be doing today is refurbishing the wheels, and the car's come direct from body shop as well, so it's got quite a bit of dust on it where they've obviously sanded and painted the vehicle. And also things like this petrol cap in here is pretty disgusting. The engine bay is also really quite ingrained and dusty in there from years of, I suppose, neglect is the word we're looking for really. And that needs to be all removed prior to sale, because if someone comes along and looks at that at the moment, it doesn't look very appealing. And likewise, these wheels, they just look a little bit tired. So the inside's interesting. Someone's removed a tow bar and just literally thrown it in the back of the car, as we can see here. Also, bizarrely, the driver's headrest is on the wrong way around. I don't know why that's sort of like that. And it's just, your general wear and tear inside and dust and stones and things in the footwell. So we need to get in there and give it a good tidy up and get it all ready. So as we can see here, all I'm doing is spraying a liberal dose of all-purpose cleaner, or APC is the abbreviation of that, all over the engine bay, and then I'm going to get a little interior detail brush. I'm just going to use it to agitate that and loosen off all the dust and dirt prior to introducing the jet wash to rinse it all off. And as we can see here with the jet wash, it's quite low pressure, and I'm not intending to sort of really drown the engine bay or the electrics. I've used a little microfiber here just to cover up the car's ECU, that's the brain of the car. And all I'm really using the jet wash for is just to rinse off all the all-purpose cleaner and the dirt is loosened off. With the car inside the workshop, we can now concentrate on vacuuming out the boot. This little gadget was recommended to somebody and I was itching to try one out. It's called a turbo brush, and as we can see here, if I introduce the vacuum cleaner, it's air powered and it sort of whizzes the brush around the end of it and helps agitate all the dirt and sort of scrub the carpet for you. I hadn't used one before and I thought, well, this is a good trial, give it a go and see what we think of it. So I used this tool extensively for a couple of days, and I'm going to be honest, I wasn't really impressed by it. It's quite restrictive what it can suck up sometimes, because because the way the fans work inside of the little fins to make it rotate, they're quite delicate, and if you suck anything up too big it can jam it up. And I found personally swapping to the manual one, it's just got a bit more, it's just more effective, and the inlet's bigger, so you can suck up larger material with it. So it's not something I'd recommend to buy, to be honest. I think it's quite novel on this particular model of car, and I do see it sometimes on some other four-wheel drives and other vehicles. It's actually got like a subwoofer speaker mounted into the middle of the spare wheel to give you that bass kick. And it's just something a bit different really, I suppose. I think it's sponsored by Bose, if my memory serves me correct. I think it's written on it. Yeah, it is. You can just see me pulling it out to one side, so therefore I can remove the spare wheel. Because the boot area was quite grubby, and I wanted to make sure that underneath there, we sucked out all the debris and gave it a good clean and got it sort of real fresh in there. So with this area all cleaned, I've stuck the spare wheel back in and I've dressed it with Car Pro Pearl. This is mixed up with water 50-50, and as we can see here, just give it a good little rub over and it makes the wheel look really nice. And with the spare wheel area done, I can now move it to inside the car. And as we can see here, all I'm doing is using some all-purpose cleaner This particular brand's called Built Hamber Surfix HD, and I just use the dilution ratios on the back. Really, I think top of my head this is about 10:1, something like that. And I just spray it on the surface of the car and then agitate it with a little brush. And then as we can see here, I use an air line just to drive out any of the bits of dirt and water out of the real hard to reach area, especially in like the cup holders and around the plastic surround around the gear stick there. It's really good for driving all the dirt out. And secondly, it also dries it at the same time so I can inspect it and see if it's come out really well. Like a lot of the modern cars, these seats aren't leather anymore, they're a form of vinyl or plastic. So I can quite safely here use the all-purpose cleaner all over them, use the brush to agitate the surface, a damp microfiber to remove the all-purpose cleaner in the dirt, which I'll rinse out in the bucket from time to time to keep it clean. And I'll also use something called a magic eraser. It's like a very slightly abrasive sponge, and that's really good for getting into the grain of the vinyl on the plastic on the seats and helping to remove any ingrained dirt out there as well. So as we can see, I've removed the boot carpet from the car. It's just a lot easier to work on, and it's easy to photograph as well, if I'm honest. And I've just pre-soaked this with all-purpose cleaner, and I'm using this drill brush. It's quite literally a drill with a wary brush on the end of it, which is fantastic for getting into the pile and loosening out all the dirt. And then I'm going to use the wet vac, and that's what you can see on the screen now. And that's just going to remove all the dirt, water and APC in one go. And depending on how soiled the carpet is, or the seats or carpet inside the vehicle, you may have to go over this 2 or 3 times just to sort of get all the filth out of it. With the boot carpet all done and the interior all dry, we can look to dress the plastics now. So for this I'm using a product called Aerospace 303. I've been using this product for about 3 months, mainly from recommendations from the comments section, and I've got to be honest, I'm a bit of a convert to it now. It's very good. I think it's value for money. It goes such a great distance. I bought a half-litre bottle and it just keeps going and going and going. And more importantly as well is the finish is satin and it's no sticky residue. Once it dries, it's really nice to touch the plastic interior trims. You're not going to have a load of it stuck on your hands afterwards, and especially when you're coating things like the switch gear, like the stalks or the steering wheel or the gear stick, etc. It's a nice experience to use those after it's been applied. So I think one of the great things about doing these YouTube videos is people just suggest so much in the comments section regarding products to review or try out, and it's something, it's outside your comfort zone. You know, you get used to using the same thing over and over again, so it's nice to experiment with these different things. With that said, so today I'm dressing the engine bay with Car Pro Pearl, which we used in the boot earlier, and it's actually really good. I hadn't really thought about using it for that application. So all I've done here is just literally spray it all over the plastics, and I'm using one of these little microfiber mitts just to rub it over, and afterwards if there's a little bit of residue I've just gone over with a clean microfiber just to buff that off. And as we'll see in the after shots, it's done a really good job of it. It does dress it very well and it does look very nice. So what we're about to see here is me reassemble the centre caps. They've got two little clips on the outside and a locating pin, as we can see here in the middle. So what you need to do is just line that up, and then it just simply clips back together again. It's worth noting as well that these sort of disassemble quite easily. So for example, if you were on eBay and you couldn't quite find the right colour cap for your car, secondhand, you could potentially buy one in a different colour, separate them, paint them with some spray cans, and then reassemble and put them on your own car. And that could actually save quite a lot of money, because direct from Nissan, these centre caps are really quite expensive. So if you're missing 2 or maybe 3, this could be a really cost-effective solution for you. As we can see here, so this wheel was originally a polished face with a grey insert, which is why we had to repaint the centre cap, because it was grey. And this customer's just opted for generic silver. It's just easier, and as we can see with a little bit of tire dressing on, just sort of finishes it off and makes it look really nice. And what we're going to do here now is use a clay bar to remove any bonded contaminants off the surface of the paint. So things like tree sap and fallout, that's going to remove all that prior to machine polishing. I'm simply using some 2-inch masking tape here just to do the areas that might be a bit sensitive if the machine polisher was to touch them. So things like the rubber door seals and the plastic trim around the bottom of the car. Basically, if the machine polish head touches that, it leaves a horrible white residue on them, and it's a bit of a nightmare to clean off afterwards. So by masking it up now, it just saves a problem further down the line. So here I'm using a flex dual action polisher, which means it oscillates and rotates, which you'll see shortly in slow motion. I'm using this with a Yellow Chemical Guys cutting pad and Kosh Chemie H9 cutting compound. And as we can see here in slow motion, you can actually see the head obviously oscillate as well as rotate as well. And that's really important because it stops the paintwork getting some sort of unsightly holograms that you can get with a rotary polisher. With that all done, we can now look to put some wax on the car. So I'm using a product called Colonite. It's hard paste wax. It does a number of things in one really. It's super affordable, it's cheap, it's very durable, which is great. It'll last for 3 or 4 months, and it's easy to apply. It's just sort of put it on, leave it on for a short period of time. I've accelerated the footage here a little bit, and then once it's cured, you can just buff it off. The only thing I would say about it is it's not an all-in-one polish. What that means is some of these waxes and polishes you see people use have what we call filling agents, so they sort of mask some of the paint defects and things, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's not really a true reflection of what you've got. Whereas this is being a hard paste wax, what you see is what you get after you buff it off. And for the plastic trim, I'm using the Car Pro Pearl again. It's still mixed 50-50 with water. And again, it gives really good durability from what I've found in personal appearance. And secondly, it's cost effective as well, which I do like. And the fact that you can dilute it how you want it makes it a really universal product. So with this all done, let's give ourselves a little reminder what the car looked like before. And unfortunately in the aftershots today, we haven't got the sunshine because we live in Britain and to get sunshine is quite rare. But we can see it's got a nice glossy reflection and the car's come up really well. The Car Pro Pearl looks really good on the plastic trims, the wheels look really nice, and the Colonite's given a really good reflection on the paintwork. And after a good scrub and blast, the engine bay and the fuel cap are now completely devoid of mould and cobwebs and whatever else was living in those areas. And one of the real letdown areas was the alloy wheels on this car previously, and now they're painted in silver, they look bright and shiny, and it just really finishes the outside of the vehicle off. The boots come up really well. There is a slight mark there I'm pointing to. I couldn't really eradicate that. The only way I think you would have got rid of it was to dye the carpet, and that's cheating a bit. As we can see underneath, all the spare wheel area and all that's all nice and presentable now, it's all clean and dry, and all the toolkit's back where it should be, and all that's been cleaned as well. On the inside, the Aerospace 303's done a fantastic job of making everything look really, really presentable. I'm going to point to here, there's a few little marks and bits of wear on the plastic which is impossible to remove, but it's negligible for a car that's probably 10 years old and done 80,000 miles. And coming up in the next few episodes, we've got a real treat for you. So we've got a Ford Fiesta, and the seats are disgusting. In fact, the interior was so bad that I've removed all the seats out of this one, so it's going to be well worth a watch, and I can honestly say the extraction process is disgusting. We do the outside of the car as well, and we're going to be refurbishing the wheels, which you get to see in person from start to finish how that process takes place. So this car is going to be a two-parter, the inside and then the outside. So if you like this kind of content, please do just subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.